Story Chapter 1: A Whisper on the Wind. Emma Carter stood at the window of her small apartment, high above the teeming streets of Dorset Heights. Below her, the city sprawled out like a living entity, bustling with the ceaseless energy of millions who called it home. The skyscrapers rose like titans, cutting through the fog that often lingered in the early hours. Buses honked, people shouted, and somewhere in the distance, an ambulance wailed. Yet, this cacophony was muted compared to the noise within her own mind. As a journalist, Emma had always thrived on staying informed. Her notebooks were filled with stories of wars in distant lands, political upheavals, and the relentless advance of climate change. But lately, the headlines blurred into a tapestry of despair, each new alert a dagger to her already frayed nerves. The world's troubles seemed overwhelming, and the pressure to document every tragedy bore down on her like a weight she could no longer shoulder. It was after another sleepless night, spent scrolling through news feeds, that Emma decided to seek solace at the serene retreat. Friends had mentioned the restorative power of nature, of disconnecting from the dizzying pace of modern life, but she had always dismissed it as impractical. Yet that morning, something inside her snapped. The retreat, a sprawling estate nestled among rolling hills and dense woodlands, immediately felt like a different world. Here, the air was clean, the silence profound. When she arrived, she was greeted not by the clatter of keyboards or the ring of phones, but by the gentle rustle of leaves and birds chirping in the canopy above. It was an invitation to breathe, to slow down. Over the next few days, Emma found herself drawn into the quiet rhythms of the sanctuary. She began each morning with meditation, closing her eyes and focusing on her breath, letting the tranquility seep into her bones. The anxious chatter in her mind dulled, washed away by the chorus of nature. She took long walks along the forest trails, her senses awakening to the beauty in everything: the warm glow of sunlight on dew-damp grass, the vibrant tapestry of wildflowers dotting the landscape. Emma had come here to escape, to find her footing in a world that felt too large and too loud. She had not expected to embark on a journey that would challenge her beliefs, ignite her passion, and perhaps transform her life entirely. And so, in this quiet corner of the world, Emma Carter began the first steps of what would become the silent revolution. Chapter 2: The Seeds of Change. Returning to Dorset Heights, Emma felt lighter, her heart unburdened for the first time in years. The city, with its glittering high-rises and endless hordes of people, seemed unchanged, yet she perceived it anew. The texture of her surroundings, the rush of the morning commute, the indignant cries of street vendors, was vibrant, electric. The retreat had opened her eyes, and she vowed to hold on to that newfound awareness. Her friends and former colleagues noticed the difference instantly. Over coffee, her old mentor, Alan, raised an eyebrow in playful skepticism. "So, Emma," he teased, "have you found the meaning of life out there in the woods?" Emma laughed. "Not quite," she replied, stirring her latte, "but I've learned that there's value in silence, in stepping back." Alan nodded, his expression softening. "I can see it agrees with you. You look at peace." Despite the light-hearted banter, not everyone shared Alan's acceptance. The idea of intentional ignorance, disengaging from the world, seemed radical to those amongst the high-stressed professionals and driven students that populated Dorset Heights. Yet some listened. By word of mouth, Emma's experience at the Serene Retreat spread, reaching those equally desperate for respite. Executives on the brink of burnout, students overwhelmed by the pressure to excel, they all found Emma's story resonated with their unvoiced yearnings. It wasn't long before a small group had gathered, eager to hear her philosophies, to unwind from the coils of perpetual connectivity. Their first meeting was held at the retreat, where Emma began with a simple proposition. "It's not about ignoring the world," she explained, her voice a soothing cadence against the rustle of leaves. "It's about choosing what you allow into your life, quality over quantity." Skeptical eyes softened, nods began to ripple through the group as Emma talked about balance, curating news that was meaningful, focusing on constructive stories and solutions, rather than the endless deluge of horrors that dominated the airwaves. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the meeting ended with a meditation. A dozen people, seated in a half circle, inhaling and exhaling in unison. The breeze whispered through the trees, a gentle song of reassurance that this path of disengagement could lead to clarity and inner peace. Chapter 3. A growing movement. Within weeks, Emma's philosophy began to take root beyond the confines of the serene retreat. Her meetings became a weekly ritual, and she found herself fielding inquiries from a diverse array of individuals seeking solace from the clamor of modernity. Journalists, much like Emma herself had been, felt the pain of this struggle acutely, and many turned to her for guidance. As Emma's group swelled in number, discussions expanded beyond meditation techniques and into more practical applications of intentional ignorance. They explored ways to implement digital detoxes, setting specific times to engage with news and unplugging from devices altogether outside those windows. They practiced gratitude journaling, focusing on the good in their lives rather than the chaos of the world outside. Emma watched in awe as her silent revolution began to ripple through Dorset Heights. Sarah, an exhausted graduate student, found her concentration improved markedly once she limited her social media consumption. Thomas, a marketing executive on the verge of a breakdown, discovered that by unplugging from work emails in the evenings, he could reconnect with his family, rekindle the joy he had once found in painting, and approach his job with renewed vigor. Story. Despite the movement's success, it was not without its detractors. Some argued that such disengagement was a luxury not everyone could afford, or that ignorance equated to shirking civic responsibility. Emma faced these criticisms with an open heart, explaining her belief that being informed did not mean subjecting oneself to an endless tide of negativity. Information, she argued, could be selected mindfully, just like the company one keeps or the food one eats. The skepticism, however, often gave way to curiosity as people experienced the tangible benefits firsthand. A shift in societal values seemed possible as Emma's silent revolution continued to gain momentum, challenging the notion that to be educated meant to be inundated. Chapter 4. Challenges and Contemplations. Emma soon realized that embracing this lifestyle wasn't without its challenges. Her decision to step back from the news cycle required constant intention and vigilance. There were days when curiosity tugged at her, the urge to check her phone for updates or engage in heated debates about the latest controversies nearly overpowering her resolve. To overcome these temptations, Emma devised a personal strategy which she shared with her followers. She implemented a mindful morning, where the first hour of her day was dedicated to activities that nourished her spirit: yoga, a mindful breakfast, or simply watching the world wake from her window. This routine grounded her, providing a strong foundation for the day ahead. Additionally, Emma opted for curated news sources, magazines, and websites with reputations for balanced reporting and in-depth analysis. By choosing quality over quantity, she was still informed, but no longer drowned in the drama and sensationalism of the 24/7 news cycle. Emma's community also became a source of strength. Sharing struggles and triumphs within the group reinforced her commitment, and she witnessed how they supported one another through similar challenges. Each member brought unique perspectives and coping strategies, enriching their collective understanding of intentional ignorance. Yet, amid these achievements, Emma couldn't shake a niggling sense of doubt. Society fed on information. Decisions in both personal and professional realms demanded awareness of the world. Could a person truly live a life apart, selectively blind to the broader happenings around them, and still contribute meaningfully to society? It was a question she returned to time and again in meditations beneath the whispering aspens of the retreat, and in deep, late-night conversations with Alan and other close confidants. The answer, she came to learn, wasn't about turning a blind eye, but knowing when to shield oneself from the tempest and when to open up, discernible and discerning. Chapter 5. Fulfillment. Unseen. The effects of Dorset Heights' silent revolution gradually materialized in unexpected areas. Crime rates began to dwindle as more individuals found themselves less frazzled, more community-oriented. Public health data showcased decreases in stress-related illnesses and upticks in mental wellness, particularly in districts where Emma's ideas had gained the most traction. Story. Emma continued to lead the movement with a nuanced understanding. She became a figurehead of hope, a whisper of peace in a world that never ceased its clamoring. Her journey from frazzled journalist to an emblem of serenity captivated those beyond Dorset Heights, and soon emails from other cities and countries filled her inbox, seeking her counsel and perspective. One particular letter caught Emma's attention. It was from a teacher in a bustling metropolis on the other side of the world. She shared how her students, stressed by both academic pressure and constant connectivity, had benefited from implementing Emma's balance days, where devices were set aside in favor of creativity and mindfulness practices. Emma's heart swelled with gratitude and pride. Her once private journey, sparked by personal necessity, had grown into something far-reaching. It was a testament to the power of a single idea, the potential for change when individuals dared to step back and rediscover what truly mattered. Chapter 6: The Ripple Effect. As Emma Carter's story spread, so did the notion of cultivating intentional mindfulness and peace in a world that never seemed to sleep. Her philosophy touched lives beyond Dorset Heights, leading to a cascade of similar movements in various urban centers around the globe. Cities with eclectic lifestyles and demanding schedules found themselves drawn to the prospect of simplicity amidst chaos. Emma's experiences and insights were compiled into a book aptly titled The Silent Revolution, which made its way onto the bestseller lists, resonating with readers yearning for an antidote to their digital fatigue. Her book became more than just a guide. It was a manifesto for change, emphasizing that intentional ignorance was not about neglecting responsibilities, but choosing what to engage with consciously. She began to travel, visiting communities that embraced her approach. Often, she stayed for weeks, leading workshops and engaging in dialogue with individuals from every walk of life. Her presence in these communities was rejuvenating, a catalyst for transformation. In one memorable instance, Emma visited a small town where an old factory had closed down, creating a pervasive sense of loss and desolation. She hosted open gatherings, encouraging the townspeople to share their stories and reconnect without the looming threat of adverse news. Over time, these sessions led to not only relief from stress, but initiatives to repurpose the factory space into a community center, highlighting how disconnecting from negativity can incubate creativity and resilience. Chapter 7: Returning to Dorset Heights. Despite her travels, Emma never strayed far from Dorset Heights for long. It was, after all, her home. As she stepped back into the city's embrace, she noticed subtle changes that spoke of a quieter revolution underway. Coffee shops and local businesses thrived as residents engaged more deeply with each other, conversations less hurried and more meaningful. She reflected on her journey, of how she began with nothing but an urgent need for silence, and found herself at the heart of something monumental. Emma had started a movement not to isolate herself from the world, but to reconnect on her terms. Her experience affirmed that it was possible to be both aware and at peace, to live informed but unburdened. It wasn't just her own journey, but a shared story of countless others who realized that life extended beyond headlines, beyond the insistence of breaking news. Emma understood that her silent revolution was not an end, but a beginning. Chapter 8: A New Dawn. Emma stood once more at the window of her apartment, now transformed into a refuge rather than a cage. The city was the same, yet fundamentally altered in her eyes, and in the eyes of so many who dared to disengage and seek a reality where peace reigned over tumult. She thought of the people she had met, stories told over cups of tea and late-night fireside conversations. Faces emerged in her mind, full of gratitude for renewed friendships, discovered talents, and finding joy in spaces once drowned by the clamor of an insistent world. As first light crept over Dorset Heights, Emma Carter understood that true revolution lay within. It was silent and personal, born in the hearts of those ready to choose silence over noise, intention over instinct. The city's skyline glistened in the dawn, a testament to resilience, growth, and the promise of peace beyond the headlines. And in this new dawn, Emma turned from the window, ready to greet another day, stillness as her ever-present companion, her revolution anything but silent in its profound impact.